have been on for a long time, so let me see how this goes. Alright. Just hold it up. Hold it up there. Hold it up there. Let me see. Good afternoon. Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's been a long time. It's been so long. I have a lot going on. And for some reason, I just took a break from going live. But I just want to address the topic today that I think is of importance, that of obesity. And for those who are not familiar with the term obesity, I don't think there is anybody who is not familiar with that term. But just in case, let's just put it as overweight. Good afternoon, Anne-Marie Ballantyne, Sister Anne-Marie Ballantyne. So let's just think of obesity as being overweight. And you may not have been to the clinic or the hospital in a long time, and so you may not have an idea as to what your weight is. I, for instance, do not have any idea what my weight is, but it's easy to tell whether or not you are obese simply by looking at your fat to muscle and even bone ratio. So if you were accustomed to wearing one size and then you see you increase in this size to the point where you have all of these fats and flabs hanging over at your waist or even at your back and your arms, and you notice that the clothing that used to fit you don't fit you, and those things are indications that you've put on weight. Now, the fact that you've put on weight doesn't mean that you're obese, but at the same time, how much weight, how is that weight? Is it muscle or is it a lot of fat? And is your waistline way bigger than it used to be? So you look at yourself. Some people, they don't pay attention to these things, but myself, if you ask me, I will tell you that my regular waistline is like 26 and a half. So 27 I will be comfortable with, but when it gets to 27 and a half, 28, then I know that, okay, something needs to be done. In terms of your hips, when you look at your hips, what's the measurement of your hips? I measure in inches, you know. So if your hip, when you look at your hip, how big are how broad are your hips? Is your pants that used to fit you last year or even 3-4 months ago, is it fitting you and is it too tight? So these things will give you an indication as to in terms of your weight. Now, the reason why I want to address this topic really is because I'm looking and I'm seeing, traveling through St. Vincent and the Grenadines, I am noting that there is a lot of obese people. It's alarming. And the reason why it's alarming for me is because I am a nurse by profession. I'm a nurse educator as well. And so it's hard for me not to see what's happening. So it's alarming right now when you look, you see so many people, and there's people who are 5 feet, like, I'm 5 feet 1 inch or so. People who are 5 feet and they're all broad out there, 5 feet 2. They have all of this weight around their waistline, their butt, and the flabs and all of that. And it's very alarming because the thing is, with overweight comes a lot of conditions. And I know that we've been, in terms of in St. Vincent, we have not really had a lockdown. But in terms of our activity levels, it has decreased because there are many people who have been staying at home because they are fearful of contracting the virus. And so even though we did not have a lockdown per se, we have limited our movement. Many of us have been limiting our movements, and then what we're doing is that we are limiting our movements, and at the same time we are taking in a lot of food. We are taking in a lot of food, and not only a lot of food, but a lot of the wrong foods. And you see the thing in weight, a lot of people get this thing, say, okay, I am not eating a lot, but I'm putting on weight. Now, some people have hormone imbalances and thyroid problems and other things that may contribute towards their weight gain. Some people are naturally big bone and all of that. But and so sometimes the whole target is not really to reduce weight, but also to eat healthy just for the sake of eating healthy, and then the weight loss will come. So we have to get it the right way. Eat healthy just to stay healthy, and then the weight gain, the weight loss will come. Sometimes we say, okay, we're on a diet and we're on a diet, and then we just struggle, we struggle so much. But if we look at it from a perspective that, okay, I'm just gonna put in things that are healthy in my body, and I'm gonna reduce the frequency in which I eat. So there are a lot of issues surrounding weight gain. So I want to tackle each point. I didn't write down anything, but I want to tackle some stuff that can cause you to gain weight. But first, let me say, I just want to go back and say that obesity is a concern in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and it should be a concern to anyone who on the planet. It should be a concern, because when you gain weight and your body becomes too heavy for even for your height and your age and all of that, then you're at risk for a number of problems, including cancer. You're at risk for things like cancer. You're at risk for things like high blood pressure, diabetes, heart problems, and other complications, including stroke and all of that, heart attack, you name it. These things, you are at risk for these conditions. Again, it's very uncomfortable too, because then when you have all of this weight, you cannot move around as much as you could, so it affects your livelihood. It messes with your whole body's immune system, and it have you out of whack because you're breathless and you're uncomfortable. You don't want to move. So you see, you don't want to move, and then you eat, and then you become obese, and then when you become obese, you even more so you don't want to move. So these are some of the issues with obesity. Cancer is on the rise. All these conditions are on the rise. Hi Ronette, how are you? Wayne Holder, hello, how are you? So cancer and all of these things, they are on the rise, and sometimes it's hard for you don't really know these things are happening unless you really pay attention. But I want to urge people to start paying attention to what they put in their body, because some people say, okay, I'm going to do some exercise because I want to lose weight. But the thing is, exercise alone do not cut it. The thing with weight gain is that your intake should be balanced with what you're putting out. So your calorie intake, all the food that you take in, should be balanced with your activity level. So if you sit at home for, let's say, 5 days per week and you hardly move, and you eat a lot, you're gonna naturally gain weight. You eat a lot, especially of the wrong things. Now, if you eat if you're a vegan, you're not gonna really put on that weight because you're eating more low calorie foods. So the insulin level in your body doesn't rise to the point where, and then you have excess calories where you have to store, because our body, what happens with weight gain is that it's the excess calories that your body stores. And how do you get that? You get that by taking in too much more than your body needs. So when your body is using up all of that energy, if you don't move around, your body's not really using up all of that energy, and you're eating so much, your insulin levels rise, and then you have all of these extra calories being stored in your body, in your abdomen, in your back, in your hips, in your arms, and and particular these areas, and it's stored as fat. And so it's hard for you to lose weight if you, and even if you say, okay, I'm gonna just exercise. There must be a balance. So there are two things that you need to do three things that you need to do in terms of balancing yourself in terms of weight gain. So yes, exercise is good. It's good to move, because the more you move is the more fit you're gonna be and all of that. But at the same time, you must also look at your diet. How much food am I taking in? How much food am I taking in? What are the kinds of foods I am eating? So that's another thing. The other thing that you need to look at is the times when you eat. So I'm mentioning three key things here that must be considered when you want to lose weight. How much food you're taking in, the times when you eat, the frequency of eating, and your activity levels. So your activity levels, everybody knows about exercise. There are different kinds of exercises that you do. For me, walking is my main one. Walking. When I walk a lot, it makes me feel good. I don't have any weight training thing here. Sometimes I do a little bit of aerobics, but for me, walking is my main form of exercise. Now, in terms of the foods that you take in, what are you eating? What are the things you're eating? Are you eating a lot of refined starches, refined foods like flour, bread, cakes, pastas like macaroni, cheese, and fried chicken, and all of these things? Are you eating a lot of those? Cakes and puddings and all of these things, are you eating a lot of those? Are you eating more of these carbohydrate refined things than you are stuff like your ground provision in proportions, your vegetables and your fruits? So if you have a diet that is mainly filled with non-processed foods, like our natural foods, like your tomatoes, your onions, your garlic, your cabbages, your watermelons, and your fruits, if you have a diet filled with more of those and less starchy and refined starch, that when you put it in, it just basically just blows up your insulin levels, and then you have all of that excess being stored as fat. So you have to look at that, what you're eating, the thing, and then the frequency of eating. Now this is one of the key things that I want to talk about today in terms of frequency. Now if you're eating, let's say you're eating you have a diet where you're eating a lot of vegetables and fruits, but at the same time you're eating very often, the chances are you're still gonna gain weight. Maybe not as much as people who don't really eat foods and fruits and vegetables and they eat more starch, but you're still gonna gain weight. So the frequency of eating is also something you have to consider. Now, I am not a dietitian, but I'm just gonna show out these things. You can always go talk with a dietitian, and you could avocados, excellent, because avocados, they have a lot of, they are fatty, and as much as people say, okay, you want a low fat diet, it's not necessarily a low fat diet that you really want. You want the really healthy kinds of fats in moderation. So all of these things that you put into your body must be taken in moderation. In even the meats that you eat, the meats, and all these other things, the chicken and the pork and all these other things that you eat, when you put them in your body, most of these things, they're very fatty, and so they're stored in your body, and then you cannot really lose the weight that you need to lose because you're eating all of these different things, right? Now, in terms of the frequency, as I was saying before, Ronette gave me avocados, the frequency of eating. Now, if you manage the frequency of eating, it will be healthy for you. Some people, have you ever heard about fasting? Yes, we have all heard about fasting. There are many different types of fasting. They are fasting for religious reasons, fasting to have a clearer vision and all of that. But then there are also fasting where you rest your stomach so that it's like some people, they just want to eat all the time, and so their insulin levels are always insulin in the blood is always high, because you don't give your body a chance to use up the energy before you eat again. So when you think about fasting, there is one called intermittent fasting, and this is where you allow your body to get rid of all that food that you ate. Let's say you ate breakfast. Let's say you ate breakfast at say 8 o'clock this morning. Now you should give your body a time to digest this food properly and let it go through the gut before you eat again. Because if you let's say you eat at 8 and then 9 10 o'clock, 10 by 10 o'clock, you had a nice meal at 8 o'clock, and then at 10 again you're eating, and you're eating another heavy something. It's like your insulin level is just gonna rise, and then you're gonna store all that extra glucose is gonna be stored as fat. So you want to space the time in which you eat. So I say eat a nice healthy breakfast if you may. If you want to eat at 8, eat a nice healthy breakfast, and then give yourself at least say a 6 hours, 5 to 6 hours. I say some experts say 8 hours. I've gone more than that before, but I'm saying that between a meal, at least give yourself a 6 hours. Let you feel like, if well, okay, I'm hungry, and feel like if your body is burning fat, because it's only when you rest your eating your body will burn fat. Your body does not burn fat while you are filling in your stomach every 2 hours. Your body will not burn fat. So you're gonna gain more weight. You must space the thing. Some people, they take 2 meals per day, some people take one. Now I don't know what your health condition is and all of that. So these things have to be taken into consideration. But I think that we have a habit of just eating, and then after a while it becomes it's such a habit that we cannot get rid of it. And so we always feel peckish, like always that we want to eat something, and we eat the things that actually introduces more glucose into our bodies. So you want to space that out. So let me give you an example with me now. Now this morning I ate breakfast early. I don't always do that, but this morning I ate breakfast early, like after 8 this morning, and I haven't eaten yet. All I've had is just water in between. So that's after 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, and it's minutes to 2. So it's already over 5 hours since I've had something to eat. But am I feeling hungry? Not really, because I've trained my body to stay up to overnight. Like if let's say I eat now, then I might eat like 3 o'clock, or I might eat 2 something, and then when I eat 2 o'clock this afternoon here, then I might not eat. I might eat a light something. Let's say around 8 tonight. Around 8 o'clock tonight, I might have maybe some oats porridge, or maybe some tomatoes and some fried plantain, something like that I may have. And then that, for me, sometimes I do 2 meals per day. Sometimes I do 3. Like today, I might do 3 meals. So there is another thing that you can do too. You can extend your hour when you eat breakfast, because ordinary days, some days I eat my first meal at after 12 in the day. That's my first meal. So my first meal may be after 12, and then I may not eat again until after 7 in the evening, after 7, 8 p.m. in the evening. Now when I eat like that, I don't eat again until the next, after 12 the next day. I can eat like 8 p.m. tonight, and then I can extend my fasting right up to 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock the following day. So all I will take in then, if you're thirsty, you can drink water, you can drink tea, but just don't add any sugar to it. Because when you add the sugar, you're introducing more sugar into the body, and then your body doesn't get the chance to burn that excess fat that you are trying to lose. Now, if you are slim and you're not really say, okay, you just want to maintain your trimness, this is how you do it. You do intermittent fasting, and then you lessen the frequency with which you eat. You have to do that. Anytime you're gluttonous, you're overeating and just eating frequently, after a while it stretches your stomach, and it makes you have this habit that you just want to eat all the time. And then gradually, the thing with it is that weight gain does not, it sometimes you don't even realize you're putting on the weight. You don't even realize you're putting on the weight. And then when you a couple of months after and a binge, then you say, wait, my pants waist can't close, my buttons not closing. And then you see my hips, my pants in the hips is too tight. Now I'm gonna tell you a secret. Between December and February, I no, January, I was eating regularly. I was just sitting around and eating because the temptation is there. You have all this food, and then I had some black cake that I had there, and I ate all of these things, a lot of food. And then then a month or two after, in early February, I looked at myself and I said, no, I am putting on weight, and it is going on like rapidly. I'm like, no, this is not good enough because I don't feel good when I put on excess weight. For my height, I don't feel good when I do. When I measured my waist was at 28 and a half, and my hips are at 38 and a half. It's a 10 difference between it. And then I said to myself, no, Ophelia, you gotta think. And so I started doing what I know I need to do, because this is something that I've been doing for years. Hi Elnora, good afternoon. So I started like spacing out my meals. That the late night eating I stopped. So this late night eating that we eat, some people study, they're eating late nights. It's very unhealthy because you're not using up that energy. You're not using up that energy. When you eat that food late night, you're not really using up all of that energy. At night, your body needs to rest. So if you eat at late at night, imagine you lying down, you want to sleep, and then your body is just working. Nighttime is made for resting, not for your stomach to be active. And sometimes you eat, you know what we do? We eat, like, let's say when we eat frequently, like every hour, every 2 hours, what do you think we do? We introduce fresh food into our gut to mix up with stale food. So our whole intestines do not get time to empty. It doesn't get time to empty, and so it's like it mashing up your gut when you do that. It messes with your gut. So it's not, and the Bible tells you about that, but being gluttonous. It's not healthy. And another thing I want to say is that when we look at what is happening in the food, the cost of food is rising. Elnora says some people might go hypo if they eat like you. No, well, that is what I'm saying, that I don't know the conditions. I made sure that I said it. I do not know the person's condition. So my thing here is general. So I do not know the conditions of everyone that I'm speaking to. So that's why I'm saying, if there are people here who are concerned about their weight, there is always a solution to losing weight. You just need to speak with your dietitian or your doctor. Let them help you to think. But these are general tips. So, and there are times when I may go hypo. Now, if I feel that I'm going hypo, then I know that, okay, let me grab a sweet or something just to perk me up. So people at the end of the day, they have to be conscious of how their tolerance, and it's good to start gradually. It's good to start gradually. So don't just go into the whole fasting and then you can't bear it. Start gradually, but we must train our body for the times to come. Because when you look, even now, the cost of food is increasing. And so some people might say, okay, where am I going to get the more money to buy more food? But have you ever considered that you may need to lessen the amount you eat? Lessening, because some of us, we eat even when we are not hungry. We should be eating to sustain our body, but not to bring our body toxic and into a state of obesity. So we need to consider, okay, the cost of food is rising. Like when I look now, I see bread. The bread, well, so the area where I'm at, the bread is still selling two small bread for $2. But the size of the bread has decreased. Some places they increase the cost of the bread to 250. But the where I'm at, the cost of two bread is the same $2. But the size of the bread has decreased. But do you think I buy more bread? No, I don't buy more bread. I say, Ophelia, you got to eat less bread. You have to eat less bread. Because we have to train ourselves for times to come, because there are famine, there are gonna be tough times ahead when you cannot afford to eat the way gluttonous in that way. So we have to train ourselves now. We have to train ourselves now, because with inflation going on, and you don't have the money to buy these things, how are you going to cope if there is a famine? How are you going to cope to even in times where you hear that, okay, if you don't take the mark of the beast, if you don't worship on a Sunday, you can't buy and sell? How are you going to survive? What's your plan? So we need to discipline ourselves. I think for some people, not everyone, because I don't want to discriminate, but for some people, they put on weight because they are not disciplined. Some people actually gain weight because they are not disciplined in their eating. There are others who have hormonal problems and they have diabetes and all these other things, and they have other conditions that may a hypothyroidism and all of these problems, hormone imbalances that may affect their eating pattern and even in digestive problems. Because for me, for instance, I have a little bit of bloating issue that I develop sometimes depending on the kind of food I eat. So then I have to be very particular with that. But if you don't have a hormonal imbalance, if you don't have these conditions and you're just putting on weight because you know you're eating too often, you need to start disciplining yourself. Because if there comes a time, because right now, no, it's easy to say that you know you will always be able to afford your food, but we don't know what is down the pipeline. Because tough times are ahead. We're seeing it when you go to the supermarket right now. The cost of stuff in the last 2 years have gone up drastically. Every single week I go to the supermarket, the cost of the stuff that I buy, most of them are up. Most of them are up. And so if you're gonna say, okay, well, I'm going to just buy more food. Well, how are you gonna afford that? And even in your weight gain, how are you gonna afford clothing? Well, how are you gonna afford these things if everything, the cost of everything is going up, and especially food and medicine, they're going up. And then the money that you need to take to buy clothing, because to accommodate your weight gain, you're gonna have to put it into food. So you have to curb your appetite. The luxury items that you normally eat, that you buy just for indulgence, you have to start to consider that you may need to curb your appetite, because you may not be able to afford to buy these things. And what are you going to do when you start feeling hungry every 2 hours and you don't have it? What are you going to do? Discipline yourself to space out the time when you eat and stop being gluttonous. There's some people who they don't eat a lot and they gain weight. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about people who sit down and eat all of this food just because they have it, and they just eat it. How can you? I mean, at the end of the day, I say, if you know that you're gonna yield to temptation, don't buy it. Some people buy the ice cream and they say, okay, I'm gonna put it in the fridge, and then because you know the ice cream is there, you're just, it's like you're tempted. So if it means that some people say, okay, that is in the fridge, and if I don't want it, I'm not gonna touch it at all. If you have that discipline, fine. But if you don't have that discipline, leave it in the supermarket. Don't bring it home, because you know once you bring it home that you're gonna be tempted to eat it. You're gonna be tempted to eat it, and then you're putting yourself more at risk for and your whole well-being, your general well-being is affected by obesity. When I travel in the vans, sometimes I get in squeeze in the vans. I get in squeeze because more than likely you got 2, 3 people who are overweight on the same seat with me, squeezing me. And it's not that I'm discriminating, because all of us, we have the tendency to put on weight, especially as we go older, especially because there was a time when I didn't have to watch my weight, but now I have to do certain things, because if I don't do these things and I sit around, I will gain a lot of weight. So we need to look at that. And it's not just for cosmetic, for looking good, but it's the whole feeling. And right now they consider obesity as a disease. Before, it wasn't considered as a disease. So it is considered a disease. Being overweight, obesity is considered a disease, and it is also a risk factor to other diseases. And in St. Vincent, we see a lot of it going on, men and women, especially women. Especially women, we have a lot of obese women. And we need to discipline ourselves. I know it is tough. in terms of purchasing food, and sometimes they say, okay, well, miss, it's only rice and bread I can afford to buy. I can't afford the other things. So eat less frequently. Eat less frequently. And if you get things like breadfruit and plantains, these are things you can easily get, more than likely. So so there's some things you still get, and especially if you live in the countryside and you don't really pay a lot for them. But if you go into town and you want to buy fruits, local fruits are expensive. Local foods are expensive, and yes, we want to eat healthy, and it's expensive to eat healthy. So that's why I'm saying, along with eating healthy, we need to space out the times when we eat, because when we space out the times when we eat, we consume less. So we need to concentrate also on quality of foods and the consumption. So less consuming less food, giving your body time to recover, giving your gut a little space in between eating, instead of putting in stale, fresh food and stale food and have all your intestines all clogged up. Winston say hello, good day. Timna Lockhart, they think it's beautiful to be big and unhealthy. Well, you see, the thing is, I always say that, you have to appreciate the skin you're in, but I do not encourage, gaining weight because of gluttonous behavior. So you're just eating, and you put in all this weight because you're eating too much. Now, like I said, there are people with hormonal issues and who don't eat a lot, but they gain weight. So people like that may need experts to advise them, and probably maybe in terms of maybe activity level and other things. So I'm not trying to get to these people here right now. I'm talking about people who sit down and they're not active, and they eat so much, and then their intake is higher than their output. These are the people who gain weight because their intake is higher than their output. So they're not moving enough, and their frequency of eating is also an issue. So these are the people I'm trying to get to here. All right, so Timna says, let me see what Timna says. Let me see. So Timna said, tell us, nurse, our health is most vital. It's true. And you see, health is a holistic thing. But I believe that if you concentrate on the glutinous aspect, it affects every other aspect of your health, your mental, everything. Too much food in the gut. Too much food in the gut. And some people don't know that because they're saying, Miss, I am dieting, but how frequently do you eat? How frequently do you eat, and what do you eat? Some people starve themselves, and they say, okay, well, and they can't maintain it. So that is why I don't really believe in just starving yourself and then you can't maintain it. You could also introduce spacing out the times when you eat. So you space the times out when you eat. Give your stomach at least a 5 to 6 hours rest. Sip water and little tea and other things in between. So you eat a nice hearty meal. Make sure your stomach is filled, and then you leave that in your stomach, and then you let it digest over that period of time. It will digest, and then after it digests, it goes through the gut. So allow your food to go through the gut. Allow yourself to be a little bit hungry so that your body will start burning. Your body will go into ketosis and start burning fat. Because if you keep eating and introducing food, your body never gets the time to burn fat. Your body don't get the time to burn fat if you eat frequently, because every time you eat, your insulin levels will rise, and depending on the type of foods that you eat. Now, if you eat, like, let's say you're eating a diet of a full diet with all your greens, there are certain vegetables that have starch, but that kind of starch is more complex, and it's also with fiber. So, and that fiber now will help excess cholesterol and all of that to be deposited from your body through your waste. But if your diet is mainly of, like, let's say the fish, a slice, let's say you have a slice of fish and you have a whole heap of veggies like your cabbage and all of these things just barely steamed and whatever, the chances of your insulin level rising very high is not so much. But when you introduce the refined carbs into your diet, that is going to rise your insulin level very high. And then if you add to that frequent eating, so you're eating every 2-3 hours, you're not gonna burn any fat. So if let's say you decide to go on a strict vegan diet, you will lose weight. You will lose weight because the vegetables that you will eat will not necessarily increase your insulin to the point where your body stores the excess as fat. But if you're mixing it, because I mix it, I have some starch, so I mix mine. But then because I mix mine, I space the frequency of eating. So this is not for diabetics, because diabetics are gonna need their little snack and all of that. So this is for ordinary people who don't have hormonal issues and these things. No, Winston say ital is vital. I like my ital. The thing is, you have to just be careful when you have a vegan diet. You have to make sure that you eat a variety of foods so that you get all your different nutrients. Because things like vitamin B12 sometimes tend to be a lot of people tend to be deficient in vitamin B12 and protein when they have a vegan diet. So you have to pay attention to that. There was a time when I used to be a pesco vegetarian, where I only had like milk and cheese and eggs. Now I do eat some chicken. I don't really buy meat and stuff, but I do eat some chicken, but I don't eat that frequently. Sometimes I'll do my fish, I'll steam it down, but I mean, fish is expensive. Fish is $10 a pound, so I'm not trying to tell you to go out and do what you cannot afford. But I'm saying that if you even if you cannot afford, you must space your time when you eat. And try to get little roughage, whatever little you can afford, okras, anything you can, the cheaper foods that they sell, because almost everything is $5 in town. But you might lucky to get okras for like $3, tomatoes for $3 right now. So little things that you can afford, because I'm telling you, local food is just as expensive as imported food. So when you can get the things cheap, like sometimes they have them little carrots, they might sell it for $2-3 if you're lucky. So the things that you can get, sometimes you get lettuce on the road if you're lucky. You get it for $3. So my friend there the other day selling for $3. So things like breadfruit, they have complex carbohydrates, breadfruit, plantains, these things. You get 5 if you look. Some places they sell you 5 plantains for $5. Well, everything is $5 now in St. Vincent. So you might say, okay, well, for me, I discipline myself. I only eat 1 plantain. I don't fry 2. I only eat 1. I eat it. I like it fried mostly. I don't mind if it's green or half ripe. I don't like it too ripe because then it's too sweet. Now let me see what Timna says here. So Timna says, well, yes, those who can be blamed for, oh yeah, but there are times when we are told that you tough, so that why I said big. Well, that is true, Well, the thing is that being skinny is not a problem if once you're not malnourished. Being skinny is not a problem once you're not malnourished, because I know a lot of people who they have nice muscles and they don't have a lot of fat and they're very healthy. Especially, there are people who they walk land. There are people they go in the land and they walk and so their appetite is, as long as you are doing the activity, your appetite is going to be different. But if you're sitting around home, these are the people that are gonna gain the most weight. People who go out there and do manual labor out there, many of them really put on all this weight. And yes, we have a culture of, okay, you have to be fat to and look good. I know that culture, but I think we are veering away from that. And if we're not, we need to, because we need. And there are people who are skinny and unhealthy, and there are people who has a lot of weight and they're not too bad, because sometimes they just have the weight in the right proportions and they're eating healthy, just that they for some reason they don't get skinny. So you have to, my thing is that anytime you adjust in your diet, don't go and look for weight loss. Look for putting in things that are healthy for your body. Eventually, the weight loss will come. So look for things that when you put it in your body, that is going to clean up your body. Because after a while, if you start putting in the good stuff, your body will detoxify and get rid of all the bad stuff over time. That's how our bodies are made to function. God made our bodies wonderfully and beautifully, so that when if we say, okay, I want to clean up my diet, I want to eat healthy, eventually what you eat is what you become. So if you're eating a macaroni and chicken every day, you will become macaroni and chicken. Your body will be macaroni and chicken, and it's unhealthy. Thank you, Timna. Well, that is it, Winston. All this manual labor is a form of exercise. And when I know a lot of guys who walk out in the fields and they will tell you, I eat a lot and I don't gain weight. I said, because your output is just as significant. And these are the key issues. Your output is just as significant. So you gotta move. There are days when I indulge and I wanna have, like the other day I was out there in the country there and I was doing some manual work and I had this whole 4 fudge in a bag and I ate the 4 of them. I ate the 4 fudge, but I was like so active and sweating, you know, and so I just ate that and it gave me some energy and I did what I had to do and I felt good. So we gotta move. We gotta balance it. It's like a scale. So if you have this scale, right, and this is your intake over here, and this is your output, and if your intake is all the way up there, and your output is down there, you're gonna tip. The scale is gonna tip. But what you want is a balance. And so if you feel like, okay, I'm not active enough, get up in the morning, take a walk, lessen the frequency of eating, and allow your body to burn fat. Your body only burns fat when you allow your body to rest from food, especially highly starch and fatty stuff. So this is just what I wanted to tackle, because I'm seeing so many overweight people in SVG more than ever. I am seeing so many overweight people. And all of them can't have a hormonal issue. Many of them. And I know things like, you know, other things contribute to that, like contraceptives and all of that contribute to that. So, and these things are toxic to your body. So you have to check yourself out. And that is why it's so important that you look at what you eat. So the quality of the food that you eat, more vegetables and fruits, less processed foods, less refined fatty foods, moderate salt intake, because your body needs salt. Your body needs salt, potassium, these trace elements, your body needs all of that. Okay? Now, Timna say our mentality must change. Eat healthy and our food will make us healthy. It's true. That is it, Anna. That is the concept. I was diagnosed with diabetes during the height of the COVID because of bad eating. Wow. Well, good for you. And even with diabetes, you can still manage your insulin levels, because you just introduce more fiber, things like your lettuce and your kale and these other things. The kale now is best to just steam it a little bit instead of eating it so raw. So you steam your stuff and you eat, you know, and you need carbohydrates. And don't get me wrong, your body needs carbohydrates, but you shouldn't go into the excess carbohydrates. Some people will add little grains to it because the roughage now fills you up a bit. So you need your fiber. The fiber content of food will keep you feeling full for longer periods. And so when you feel full for longer periods, then you don't have the temptation to eat. Ras, let me see what Ras say. And tomorrow, some of them who praising you, some are going to be liking. Let me see what he has say. Ras. Let me see. I think I lost your thing here. Eating things and... Let me see what he say. Oh gosh. Things and overabundance and starch and acid. Vinci full of overweight women and what? Rum belly men. Yeah, and the alcohol too, you know. The alcohol too. It's interesting that you mentioned that, Ras, because the alcohol as well The alcohol is not a healthy thing to be consuming like that, because it actually, alcohol has a lot of glucose too. It has a lot of glucose. So the alcohol is definitely something that needs people need to be thinking. I don't do alcohol at all. So we need to respect our bodies. We need to respect our bodies and put things in it that are healthy for us as much as possible. I know that sometimes it's hard because you may not have the finances, but as much as possible. Juicy. No, and again, I indulge in a juicy, but those are soda. You have to tell yourself, you see, sodas are not good neither, They are very gassy. They are very gassy, and even the things like Pepsi, when you Pepsi and cola, they are acidic. They clean out toilet. Now, if things like Coca-Cola can clean a toilet and take out all of the brown stuff, you could imagine what it does to your inside. So we have to look at what we put in our bodies. Let me see who is speaking here. Let me see. I said they have to stop eat dead things and overabundance of starch and acid. It's true. Yeah, man, me eat a little dead chicken sometimes. I was more a fish person, but now and again I eat some chicken. Now and again I eat chicken. I need to stop eating even that. I need to go fully vegan. I don't really have a problem doing that though, fully vegan, because it's something that I did for over 10 years. I was a vegetarian, except for the fish and cheese and egg, I think. But even the eggs I didn't eat much of. Yeah. Let me see. I'm trying to see what others are saying here. And the acid too. The thing with the even the proteins that we eat and the processed foods that we eat, they become toxic to us, and it makes our body acidic. And that is where things like cancer comes in. These are cancer. Most of these cancers you see we develop. It's as a result of overeating these things. It's our body becomes toxic. And then these cancer cells, because we all have cancer cells in our body, but when the environment is acidic, it becomes the perfect environment for things like cancer to grow. So we have to think long term. We need to start to think long term. All right, so I'm coming down the line here because I think I missed some stuff down here that people were saying. Good after. Let me see here. I'm trying, but it seems like I missed some stuff. All right, so no, well, the thing with it, yeah, a lot of sugar in the alcohol. Yeah, man, our diet needs cleaning up. Our diet needs to clean up bad. And we need to start looking at the fact is that once, one of the things you can do to become more conscious, just go for a regular. How many of us go and even do like a little, from time to time, and say, okay, I want to check my weight. How much of us own like a measuring tape? Because I don't really go and check my weight, but I have a measuring tape, so I know what my health, what my limitations, my boundaries are in terms of weight. I know that once I get past 26 and a half to 27, that my waistline now, that's it for me. 26 and a half, that's it. Anything over that, I'm gonna like, okay, you know. So even if you don't measure you don't go and get yourself weigh, you have a measuring tape, you need to be keeping yourself. So we need to take that responsibility, because the thing about it now, when you look at what is going on, our healthcare system has failed us big time. Our healthcare system has failed us big time, because within the last 2 years, instead of telling us about eating healthy and all of that, all they've been pushing is just the vaccine they've been pushing. Nothing else. They have not addressed this problem here of obesity. Who do you see coming out and addressing this problem of obesity and other diseases? All we are hearing about is the vaccine for a virus that has a 90-something% recovery rate, and that virus is not even going to make you gain weight. Which one is more deadly? The people who are dying after they contract the virus are people who have underlying illnesses. So why don't you address the basics, address the issues that will prevent you from getting underlying conditions, address the issues that even if you have underlying conditions that you can still maintain a form of health, because health is not necessarily the absence of disease, because there are some people who may be diabetic but they are still healthy because they maintain healthy blood sugar levels, they eat properly, and they have learned to discipline themselves. So we have to look beyond the fact that, okay, if some people will say, okay, well, I have diabetes, so I am unhealthy. Not necessarily. Don't give up like that. Learn about your condition. Learn how you can maintain healthy insulin levels. Take your insulin and whatever you need to take until you can get yourself balanced in. And if possible, you get off of those medications. There are people who have come off, but you must put in the work. But it's for me, I believe that prevention is better than cure. So why wait until you develop it in order to think? Why not, for those of us who is not diagnosed with something, why don't we just address these things, take control of these things now? And so we have this responsibility. Listen, it is the first time in history that I've ever seen that the government and healthcare has become political. In nursing, healthcare is a personal thing. The government is responsible for putting policies in place and for ensuring that the facilities and the resources are there. But when it comes to your health, when it comes to your eating habits and all of that, that's a personal thing. Have you ever seen the government coming out and saying, okay, well, you can't eat that, you can't eat that? No, but they're going to come and tell you, okay, you have to take this. This is the only thing you have to take. They don't care about you. It's just the money. Everything is money, 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 money. So now you got to say, okay, well, listen, I'm not just going to think I'm going to lessen my consumption of unhealthy foods. I'm going to lessen, and if I can't help it, sometimes I'm going to lessen the frequency with which I eat. I have to do these things. Discipline, discipline. Moderation is key. Yes, thank you. Somebody just said that. Moderation is key. And yes, Ronette, I want to congratulate you. I saw you've been doing your fitness thing, and I see how you're trimming down, and it looks good. It looks good, and you are saying it here. You feel so much better when you adapt healthy eating and add some exercise. Yes. And another thing too, what I find with activity, if you're active in the day, you will rest better at night, because sleeping also rests the body, and when you get proper sleep, it decreases your chances of even getting diseases too. So when you're active, you see, like for me, I had 3 trips out the road. I had to walk half an hour both ways. That's an hour walk plus another 12 minutes, and I have to go back again. Now all of that walking, you see, tonight now I'm gonna sleep. I'm sleeping better. So when you active, you sleep better. You sleep better, and your body gets time to rest and rejuvenate. So sleep is very important too in even managing your weight. Sleep is important. Sweet Billy, William say, greetings to you too. Thank you. I am missing some of the comments because it keep fluctuating down. So if I didn't hear something, if I didn't read something, just excuse me, please. All right, so I just want to wrap up things. So I want to say that if you have weight concerns, you're not helpless. To some degree, you're not. So you do the things that you can do for yourself, like as much as you can afford to. Start looking at among the kind of foods you eat, and we all know what is healthy for us, and we know what is healthy for us. So as much as possible, start looking at the kinds of foods we eat. Also start to look at the frequency with which we eat. Consider doing intermittent fasting for those of you who can. If you're a diabetic and you're concerned about your weight, you can lose weight, but you should walk along with somebody who will be able to monitor your blood sugars, make sure you have all of that, because I don't want anybody going to fall down and get dizzy and lose consciousness. So if you have thyroid issues and all of these things, and losing weight is a challenge, and you need to seek professional help. For those of us who are able to limit the weight when we are by our consumption, our habits, then we need to address these three things: exercise, quality of food that we eat, and also the frequency of food that we eat, right? Because we are doing all of this because we want to prevent ourselves from becoming obese, or from also decrease the weight that we have if we already are, to decrease the weight. And remember, the aim must be to just put in what is good. Don't let the aim be weight loss. Let the aim be to detoxify the body, to put what is good into the body. Because when you do that, when you concentrate on the quality of food that you put into your body, the weight loss will eventually come for most of us. It will come. Ras Aishaka said, if it does not earn foreign income, it is not a priority. But good health is the greatest gift you can have. It's true. Government can't tell people what to eat, but can advocate that which is healthy and through policies. And that is why I say health is a personal thing. And the only time I've seen the government in infringing on the rights of people where their health is concerned is this COVID vaccine. But generally, when a client comes to us, we do not say, okay, this is what you have to do. We give you, just like I'm saying here, we give you suggestions, and we give you all of this information, and we help you, we guide you, and we see how we can make you want to personally, how you see. Because if it's not affecting you, we will not be able to influence you. You must acknowledge that you have an issue. And our aim is to educate and to guide, and then you make that decision. But the decision is yours. Because the policy is like no smoking. You will notice if you go certain places, you see no smoking zones. Those are policies aimed at, okay, reducing people smoking. But at the end of the day, people still go outside those zones and smoke. So government could only introduce the policies. But government should never go into and say, okay, well, you have to do this. The person should care enough about their bodies, respecting their bodies given to them by God, respecting it and say, this is my body, God gave it to me, and he expects me to eat in a way that glorifies him, to eat in a way that is not glutinous, and not toxic. And we've all been there eating things that we know we shouldn't eat. But it's never too late for us to take things, because it's getting a problem now in SVG. We have too many obese people here. Too many. All right, guys. So all the best. Remember, if you don't remember anything else, 3 things that you need to address when you. And I want to add another one. So let's add another one. So 3 things plus 1. So your sleep is the addition that I want to give. Quality sleep. Stop staying up too late in the night and not getting enough sleep. Because if you don't rest, your body will be tired. So sleep is another thing that you must consider. You need sleep for your mental and your physical health. Now, in terms of, so you need to address your consumption of food, the types of food you eat, and the frequency with which you eat. And you also need to increase in terms of your activity level. Whatever activities that you can do, whether it's aerobics, whether it's walking, whether it's, some people do a little dumbbell, some people do skipping rope. Even at my age here, I skipping rope, right? But things that whatever it is that you can do it, but don't do it because you say, okay, I want to lose weight. Do it because you say, okay, I just want to feel good. I just want my body to become less toxic. And when you do it because of that, you would not concentrate so much on the weight loss. You will concentrate more on what you put in. And as you concentrate on what you put in, your body will naturally just fall into place in terms of your weight, right? So that's what's gonna happen. So that's how we deal with these things. It's not really hard, but it requires discipline, like everything else. And remember, we have to train our bodies for times to come, because there will be a time when food is gonna be scarce. We will have inflation more than we have now. And so we're gonna have to train ourselves that we can bear hunger. That we can bear hunger for periods of time. If you keep eating every 2 hours now, you will not be ready for such a you would not be ready for such a thing. You know, so all the best anyway, guys, and thanks for viewing. Thanks for your input. Remember to share it. Somebody might be able to think. And if you have any other additions, thanks for interacting with me. I really enjoy that. If you have any other points that you want to put down there, put it there. And remember, after all of that, the benefits of losing weight and eating healthy is that you feel good. You feel good inside. Even before you start seeing the weight loss, your inside just feels good. And that's one of the things, like Russ said there, health is one of the best things that you can give yourself, to enjoy good health. So eat with a conscience, don't be gluttonous, and discipline yourself. All right? So take care, guys, and all the best. Bye.